Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a very laid-back, relaxing ASMR-style review of the new PUP album, The Dream Is Over. PUP is an Ontario punk band, and this is their second full-length LP for the Side One Dummy record label. Their debut album, which dropped a few years ago, was energetic enough for a modern punk album with some shades of pop punk and post-hardcore mixed in. However, I wouldn't really say the band came through with a very memorable sound or style. There are very few songs that I actually remember from this album, and on this new record over here, I think the band is still yet to completely come into their own. However, some of the bold lyrics and explosive instrumental performances on this record are leaving a greater impression on me. Right from the start with the track If This Tour Doesn't Kill You, I Will, which is probably the most hilariously titled track on the entire record. Not only is it a very fast, short, well-written, and very catchy song, but the track has this self-aware wit and humor about it that reminds me of the last Jeff Rosenstock record. Just this very loud and very brash pop punk that's kind of suffering from an existential crisis, which is exemplified on tracks like Can't Win, as well as the song Doubt, or the track My Life Is Over and I Couldn't Be Happier, which is another one of my favorite tracks on here, as well as one of my favorite song titles. Now, this record is a very downtrodden album, and it kind of faces these very negative feelings and these life struggles with just pure anger and aggression. Honestly, it's not really the attitude that I was hoping for, because even though there are a handful of tracks on this record that I think are very clever and kind of funny and very fun to listen to, the album has this woe is me vibe to it that I think is a little saturated right now, and I'm not really sure what PUP brings to the table that many of these other bands don't already that are going for a similar emotional appeal. The blaring guitars and the relentless drums and the kind of throat shredding, very almost shrill vocals, I like them on tracks like the introductory track as well as the song DVP, but on the more melodramatic cuts in the track listing here, I think the vocals get really grating and become kind of a turn-off. They're very whingy and kind of one-dimensional, and it's to the point where I think they kind of ruin the songs at the core of these tracks and just make them hard to enjoy, like on The Coast or Sleep in Heat or on the song Old Wounds. The production and the instrumentation I don't really have any issues with. It's just kind of a standard mix of rock instrumentation with, again, shades and sounds coming from the worlds of pop punk, and occasionally the band will dip back into the 90s with some noisier, heavier guitars that seem almost like they're lifting some inspiration from grunge. For an album that is so blatantly influenced by pop punk, it is a very noisy and abrasive record, sure, and generally I like that about the album. I just wish the singing and the lyrics were actually a little more bold and were just less cliche, more surprising, and actually worth remembering, like in the case of the song If This Tour Doesn't Kill You, I Will. That song seems like such a funny, self-aware, interesting moment for the record and the band, and unfortunately they don't continually deliver moments like this on the record, and instead just devolve into the kind of dime a dozen whining that turns me off about a lot of modern pop punk and sometimes emo bands. For people who are hardcore into pop punk music, I could see them enjoying this album, but there just aren't really that many special qualities about this record, and definitely not as many as I had hoped there would be, given how much I liked the teaser tracks. I'm feeling a light to decent 6 on this thing. Transition. Have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best. You're the best. What should I review next? Hit that like if you like. Please subscribe. Have a nice day. PUP.